Woo! Yeah! Welcome back to Button Mash on WCRD 91.3 FM, the pulse of Ball State. Hey folks, download our new app on the Android and iPhone stores, and you can listen to our sweet, velvety voices at your leisure, on your phone, at your home, in your bathtub.
Wherever area with your phone.
Wherever you carry yourself.
Everybody takes it to the bathroom, let's be honest.
Oh my God.
Nobody reads newspapers or, it's the greatest thing about phones is that now you don't have to be bored when you're taking a dump.
There's no excuse to be bored this generation. No. Lucas, it's season-ish two of Button Mash.
I didn't think of it like that, but man, that's pretty, okay, season 2.
Season 2, it so saith. And now we get to bring you more news, which is my favorite thing in the entire world, about video games and about video game culture and reviews about video games and all that fun stuff.
Let's just hope that this show lays out like a trilogy, and second part's always the best.
So
like first part's awesome.
Do I betray you in the last part?
And then the third one's just totally different from the first two, and all the fans hate it. That's what it usually is.
And then 20 years from now we'll release the special edition.
Yeah.
See, we always intended to have AT-ATs walking in the background while we were talking about Uncharted or something.
And we'll mess up the ghosts at the end and completely replace them with different actors. And at some point you'll just scream, "No!"
That's impossible!
But enough with the Star Wars references. Let's get on to video game
news,
which has nothing to do with Star Wars right now.
All right, folks. Biggest news story coming out of this week. If you paid any attention to the CES, Consumer Entertainment...
Isn't it electronic?
Blah, 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 blah. One of them big shows. Sony has announced a program called PlayStation Now. And what that's going to allow you to do is through a variety of devices... Lucas, turn that music down a little bit. What it's going to do is it's going to allow you to play... previous PlayStation titles like PlayStation 3, 2, or 1 titles on a wide variety of devices.
PlayStation 3, you can play those games on PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and then didn't they say like the TV?
On Sony Bravia TVs and on tablets. And I would imagine any tablet that is Sony brand. I think they're trying to keep
as to how that's gonna work. Like, how are you gonna play PlayStation 3 games like God of War and Last of Us and Uncharted on a tablet?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like those games are a little bit too demanding.
There's some games though that will be
tablet.
There's some games that will be like perfectly fine on a smaller screen, like Katamari.
They'll
probably
just keep small indie platformers, stuff like that, things that make sense on
You'd be
tablet.
stupid to do it any other way than like what the experience is intended for, like a giant television.
Yeah. And they said it will be kind of like a rental plan and a subscription plan.
Let me talk about that. So Sony announced they're going to have 2 plans basically for how you can obtain games and content through PlayStation Now. They have not announced a specific pricing yet for any particular model, but they say they plan to offer the service under a subscription model, sort of like Netflix. You shell out $15 a month for the ability to stream pretty much everything, but they will also let gamers rent individual titles as well. And I'm kind of interested to see like which of those models takes off, because I've been on both sides where I used to rent games, from the brick and mortar store, like Family Video or something like that, and they tend to charge you upwards of like $5 or $6 for every game that you want to rent, and then of course like late fees are bonkers.
They have gone down though recently. I feel like they've kind of had to. I mean, how much is a Redbox rental? Do you know?
It's $1 a day, but I also see the benefit of like. With the game industry is special because there are certain months, like right now, there's almost like nothing of great merit out for the next-gen consoles.
Everything either just came out or is about to come out.
Or is coming out in February or March.
Yeah.
And during those months, I would like to not have to shell out $15 for something I'm not even using, And so I can see the sense of having the rent individual titles model.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they had it so you could purchase it, because, for the people who maybe they only want 1 or 2 games, they don't want to have to pay $15 every month.
Kind of like a GameFly model, like you pay $10 or $15 for
maybe
one,
a reduced price.
Yeah, and then a reduced price for two. But
basically, I just want The Last of Us on my PlayStation 4.
Take our money, please.
Yeah, but I think the whole PlayStation Now thing is just another example as to how Sony caters to like the demands of like now, and where Microsoft is just kind of saying like, hey, this is a great future investment, kind of saying like this Kinect is really going to take off in the next couple of years, like developers are going to go great with it, and it's going to be in like every game and yada yada yada. And they're much more I was going to say online, but they used to be more online when they were doing the whole like 10 friends thing, but they scrapped all that.
Well, yeah, assuming Xbox, it's interesting. That's almost Sony's way of committing the heinous act of having an always online DRM, because if you're streaming these games, you obviously have to have an online connection. And wow, I didn't think about it like that.
I wonder what the bandwidth is going to have to be, because they are all streamed. That's what they said, right? You don't just download it and then get permission to play it.
I think
that
would
kind of make more sense.
Well, I remember reading that the people who played demo units of The Last of Us and a couple other titles, I'm looking at it here, Last of Us and Beyond Two Souls and God of War Ascension were two of the PlayStation 3 or three of the PlayStation 3 titles that they had there. People who did play it said that they didn't really notice any noticeable lag or any great detriment to like the graphical quality of it. But my big concern is
that's a controlled environment.
That's a controlled environment. And if the last couple months have shown us anything, it's that both Sony and Microsoft tend to flounder when it comes to the first couple of months worth of. Did my mic go down? Nope, that's just me. Sorry.
That's just you.
They tend to flounder when these first couple of months of rollout come. We've had so many downings down.
Rough starts.
Yeah, rough starts, and the systems have gone down for both consoles repeatedly. Stuff like Battlefield 4, is just a nightmare.
Well, Battlefield
right
4
now.
is an exceptionally awful case, and so was SimCity Online, or what was it called?
Yeah.
Was it just SimCity Online?
SimCity, SimCity.
The whole debacle with that. But I think they kind of do that on purpose to pretty much every game ever to kind of undershoot, because the last thing they want is to have like 100 million servers
and then
only like 40% of them are used or something, because even though the players will get mad and upset that first week or whatever, at least they can always add on more servers, they can always buy more and build up their supply. But to have too many would just be like a huge downfall in terms of like an investment.
But still, that's why you hire analysts who can tell you the expected number of something like this. And we can forgive a terrible mistake every once in a while, but it's become so consistent.
I feel like
now.
An analyst would be the best job in the world. It really is the epitome
just to tell a company what to do,
of just pulling excuses out of your butt. Really, as long as you sound like you know what you're talking about and you just bring up like all this research and stuff, because you can guess whatever number you want, and then they'll be like, okay, sure. Of course you gotta have a good track record.
If you're wrong a lot, then out. So along with talking about PlayStation Now, it's interesting to note that GameStop has thrown its hat into the ring with you may, if you ever frequent a GameStop, you know that they always have the cards for like Xbox Gold credit or PlayStation Plus credit. You can buy the subscriptions there. They have They want PlayStation Now to have a place on their shelves as well. In a recent statement, a company representative expressed hopes that it would be able to help Sony sell PlayStation Now subscriptions by featuring them in stores. Quote, GameStop has built a $600 million digital business with most of the digital games sold through our stores, said the rep. Similar to how we worked closely with our partner Sony to successfully sell the PlayStation Plus service, we are looking forward to working with them on including the new PlayStation Now service as a part of our portfolio. That's obviously a lot of PR speak, like, oh, we're working on it. I'd be interested to see if Sony actually, they probably will, but I want to see if they actually join up with GameStop and like let them cut into the pie. But I don't want GameStop getting anywhere near my subscription fees.
I just don't want more subscription fees. It's so much to juggle. Just,
I mean, hey, I would rather have this than GameFly right now. I can get it instantly. I can assumedly do as much as I want. What time are we at, Lucas?
We are at 10.5 minutes.
Awesome. We're doing great time.
But you talked about cutting the pie, of which I would like to use that topic to transition to cutting the
Transition!
pizza. Cutting the pizza, and the Xbox Pizza Hut app sold like $1 million worth of pizza.
Oh, like ordering pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know that was a thing that you could order your pizza through your Xbox, but I mean...
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, you can do it online anyway now.
And now with Connect, you can just do it with your voice. You're just like, Xbox Pizza.
Xbox Pizza.
Unfortunately, it doesn't come right out of the Xbox, but comes to your door.
You still have to interact with a human being in order to.
We haven't gotten to that point yet, where someone can just live in their
We'll get
home.
the Amazon drones to start delivering your pizza.
Oh, gosh.
That'd be brilliant. Speaking of selling, though, we have some numbers here for how many PlayStation 4 units and Xbox One units have been sold. Lucas, do you want to lead that in?
Yeah.
Or do you want me?
Well, it was about a little more than 3 million Xbox Ones were sold worldwide by the end of 2013. And was it, what did you say, 4.2, 4.3?
Sony announced 4.2 million PlayStation units worldwide as of December 28th, 2013. So
PlayStation sold about 1 million more.
Yeah, and that's not taking into account the post-Christmas season of the 29th, the 30th, and then the 31st. Plenty of stores were open those days, and I would imagine, with Christmas, rolling down, plenty of people have money as a result.
Which I find that I don't get that.
What?
Those numbers, that doesn't make sense.
Why not?
Because was so much more difficult to find a PlayStation than it was to find an Xbox.
That's true, yeah. But it still makes sense because they sold more, ergo it was harder to find one, whereas it was easier to find an Xbox, but people weren't pursuing it as hotly. Ergo, you don't sell as many.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with the numbers, but it still baffles me. I mean, technically, I can only have the perspective from the one retailer. I worked at GameStop over the holiday season, and we never had PlayStation 4s. And I mean, I over-exaggerate, never, but... And I can't give exact numbers because I think I could probably get fired for that. But... I can tell you there were several times more Xbox Ones than PlayStation 4. Many times. I can believe that. Many times we never even had a PlayStation 4 we would not have PlayStation 4s for days at a time. Xbox Ones we pretty much always had in stock. There were times where we sold out or we were down to a few, but for the most part it was not as bad of a shortage.
PS4 did have a head start of about a week. But and
there is that
can factor pretty
and they did sell that
into
million in that first week.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note that both Sony's SEA CEO Andrew House and then the Microsoft CEO Youssef Mehdi said that these figures are actually consoles sold to customers, not just put on shelves. So these numbers are consoles out there in someone's living room right now. And yeah. Let's see. Do we want to move on to a news story?
Sure.
All right. I'm
done with PlayStation and Xbox One comparison numbers.
Pshaw, yeah. I'm still waiting for Infamous Second Son to come out.
Ago.
That's the only thing I want to play right now, and it's going to take like 3 months. We're going to be almost done.
I want to play Skyrim. I just downloaded that for PC, and I've already gotten, oh my gosh, probably like 50 mods. It's a completely new game.
So
it's awesome.
There's been a little bit of a kind of cool story. Criterion, the studio behind the infamously popular Burnout series, and also a couple of the most recent Need for Speed titles, they had both of their founders, names Alex Ward and Fiona Sperry, leave the studio. EA released a pretty cheap statement. We appreciate their many contributions, blah blah blah, and they left that studio. It looks like to start up an entirely different project. Alex Ward tweeted that he and Sperry left Criterion because they, quote, wanted to work for ourselves. So Criterion had, pretty much come under the umbrella of EA, and they were focusing pretty heavy on the Need for Speed titles. Like, we haven't had a Burnout game in
forever.
5 years. I don't know.
I mean, I haven't played Burnout in a long time, but now that you mention it, I can't think of a new one having come out recently. And by recently, I mean like the last 4 years.
And yeah, and it looks like Criterion's going to be pretty much business as usual is what they have released a statement. They're currently working on let's see. It looks like still Need for Speed as far as they're concerned, but that could change under new direction. The studio was founded in 2000, and yeah, its first biggest title was the Burnout Racing series, which I think Burnout 3 was what really launched them to fame, because that was such a tight game.
I just remember getting the PSP when it came out, and like the one game that I played a crap load of was Burnout. So fun. It's the one racing game where you don't, or not necessarily a racing game, but it's the one car game where it actually awards you for being bad,
being reckless, yeah,
and crashing into stuff.
Because of those games, I'll never be able to enjoy Forza or Gran Turismo.
I'll just
follow
never
the
be able
line,
to enjoy those.
follow
Period.
the line. And yeah, so yeah, that's all that there is to talk about as far as the Criterion Studios founders Alex Ward and Fiona Sperry. Do you have any other news stories you want to talk about?
I know you're not big into multiplayer shooters, but Titanfall is one that I've really taken interest into. And they announced some details today of they've figured out the numbers for how many players will be in a match, and it's going to be small. It's going to be 6 versus 6. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of AI controlled characters running around, and there's going to be 12 on each team. And because each player, each actual human player, not the AI controlled players, they can call in. They're the only ones who can call in Titans, the giant mechs, robot monsters with awesome big guns and whatnot. There can be upwards of 50 characters on the field at once, which is crazy to think that of those 50, only 12 are actual
humans.
Yeah.
I'm going to get real paranoid.
Yeah. But I think this could end up being, I don't know. It really depends on how well this AI is in this game, because if it's mediocre or not that good, it's really going to detract from the experience. But if they're at least... if I get killed by AI several times a match, I will actually be more happy than if I don't get killed by any AI during the match.
Yeah, that's the balance that they have to achieve there, is make the AI enough to be challenging. You will be killed occasionally because you can't just be always winning or else it becomes boring, but also make it challenging yet easy enough that it doesn't feel like a slog. That's why I despise Call of Duty multiplayer, because I'll never be able to get a positive kill-death ratio on something like that, because I'm outclassed. I'm so outclassed.
That's what I think this could be
could bring more people into multiplayer,
because everybody will do well.
Yeah.
Or at least
you're going to get killed by other humans, but you're going to feel like you're achieving something by taking out a majority of the bots. Mm-hmm. And that's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, just really more than anything, this game, I think, depends on its AI. It's going to flop or it's going to do great because of that.
Did they say, have they talked about whether or not bots can control Titans once they're on the battlefield? They can't? That might be...
I know they can't call them in. I'm pretty sure they can't get in them.
Okay. Because I feel like that might be weird.
Although then again, that would kind of make no sense, because it would just be an AI getting inside an AI, pretty much.
But also, how much sense would it make to be like, okay, there's an enemy Titan, there's an enemy human standing next to it. The most logical thing to do would be, get into the stupid Titan and, wreak havoc. Mm-hmm. But if it's an AI and he's programmed to never touch the Titan, that doesn't make any sense as far as, I want to survive.
Right. Oh, well. Well, folks, we're going to take a quick break and give you a word from our wonderful, wonderful sponsors. And we'll be right back with more Button Mash on WCRD. Welcome back to Button Mash, everybody. I'm your host, Lucas Schmidt, and with me again is Joseph Noop. And we're going to talk about Aliens.
Alien Isolation.
Oh, yes.
To be specific. Not that terrible game by...
Yes,
who was it? Who did Colonial Marines?
Oh, that was Gearbox.
Yeah, it was Gearbox.
Which is very
Borderlands.
I thought it was going to be really good because, I mean, you basically...
We all thought it was going to be really good.
I mean, well, 'cause
with that,
you look at
quote, vertical slice... Yeah, and because of Borderlands.
And Borderlands could be the best co-op game I've ever played. And
well,
they were going to make an Alien co-op game. And so excited. And when we say alien, everybody, we don't mean aliens as in just like anything aliens. We mean like Ridley Scott.
Not Ridley. I keep wanting
Ridley
to say
Scott
Rot
did
Skidley.
Alien. And
Rot Skidley is the name of my new childhood
who directed Aliens?
Cartoon character. Aliens was James Cameron.
James Cameron, yes.
But yeah, the developer Creative Assembly, who you may know as the developer behind pretty much every single Total War game.
That's really all they've done.
Yeah, anything notable.
Except for like a Cricket World Cup game back in 99.
Back in 99. A Sonic DS collection in like 2008 or whatever. They are developing a game called Alien Isolation, a game in which you... as a female, I want to say she's sort of a space explorer. She's looking for her
descendant. She's of Ripley.
Yeah, she's Ripley's daughter, in like
okay.
the 100 years that Ripley is like missing. And so they find the space station, and unlike Colonial Marines, in this game you'll be hunted by only one alien, and the developers have said that it's going to be the largest alien in any Aliens title. Any Aliens game, I should say. It's going to stand 9 feet tall. And you pretty much, I don't think you have any options to fight back really, because when I was watching this big 13-minute interview on Game Trailers with one of the lead developers, he said that they really want to focus on encouraging players to be a better survivor.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it's going to work. I mean, it sounds a lot like Amnesia. where
Yeah.
you don't really fight back. You just hide and survive. And it really is survival horror at its bare bones, like, essence of the title. I mean, you look at games like Dead Space and Resident Evil, and they say they're survival horror, but when I don't ever have to worry about ammo for my gun, it doesn't really feel like survival horror. It just feels like me.
When they're throwing 1,000 enemies at you, the survival horror aspect comes from, well, I need to count my ammo or else I'm
And
screwed.
then every now and then jump scare. Jump scares do not count as horror. I mean, jump scares are good and all, but if that's really all you got in there that's scaring me, then it's not that good.
And
Dead Space 3 was not good.
And
we've talked about that before.
I'm enjoying. They have a couple of aspects. You know, they're pulling a lot of their inspiration from materials that were never actually released to the public. Concept materials for the original Alien movie. So a lot of the design aspects and like the lighting and the sound design are all going to be very evocative of. You think Alien came out in the 80s. This is, you know, people back then, this is what they thought the future would look like before the Walkman even existed. Before
the internet.
So they went back into the archives and they have 120 minutes worth of backing soundtrack. 3 terabytes of images from the film is sort of serving as their concept art. One of the developers, Lindop, as his last name, said, quote, "We didn't want to retcon what happened between Alien and Aliens. We just wanted to resist the temptation to grab the player and make them see this clarion call. There's a tendency in narrative design that the hero is the fulcrum of the story, but the original film already gives us this perfect foundation to work with. It was about going back to basics." And that seems pretty true. Like they are focusing on that Amnesia-esque hiding gameplay. What with like the motion scanner from Aliens, you know, the little green dot passing everywhere. And I like that the developer also said that if you see the alien, he can probably see you. So that's going to add to the tension of, you know, you don't know where he is, but he could pop in out anywhere at any time. And he's the ultimate hunter. You are nothing compared to him. You are trying to be the ultimate survivor. You can't be the hunter in this.
My fear with the game, though, is that it will just be too reminiscent of the Alien movie, and it'll just be you on a ship fighting the alien, or like surviving, hiding from the alien and everything. But what I think could make the game really good is if they can somehow turn the experience of hiding from an alien and allowing it to have plenty of like ups and downs, and not just sitting in a closet the whole time and whatnot, and have enough things happen, enough plot twists and whatnot, to the point where you can get to a point where you actually turn the tides on the alien and you jettison it into space. You do whatever to it, and it could be the most satisfying moment ever, because here's this 9-foot tall demon monster that you've been running from for the last 5-6 hours, and now you finally get to just stick a spear through its head or something.
I think with the fact that they've addressed, you know, their intent is to create the ultimate survivor in this game, or I think what did Ripley do in the original movie? She tied
a flamethrower to the gun and charged straight into.
That was in Aliens, though.
It was. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. But they created the ultimate survivor out of one of the most unlikely characters. You know, nobody expected Ripley to become the ultimate hero or something like that, and that says a lot of creating valid, independent female characters in sci-fi and really any art. So I think that's where a lot of the story is going to come from. Maybe it won't be so much uncovering a vast conspiracy like in Dead Space 2, you know, with the marker or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's going to be about overcoming a personal conflict. It sounds like a great material for a story. Like, you are Ripley's daughter, so there's obviously going to be a lot of conflict of, like, you know, where's my mom? What happened to her? And now I'm embroiled in the same conflict. It's wide open for them to go wherever they want, because nobody's ever addressed that 100 years other than a quick line, you know?
Yeah, it'll be interesting how they bring in, because they're going to have to bring in other characters. I mean, you hear in the trailer, you hear someone else's voice
on the radio
other
or
than
something like that,
Ripley's daughter. Yeah.
I think there is a couple of other people in the game, maybe not physically with you, but like on the radio or whatever, because the story is she goes with expedition crew or something to the station, and she gets this rumor that her mom, this is what happened to her mom, so that's her motivation to go out there. I didn't know this before, but the Aliens AI is going to be like fairly procedural. Maybe not totally, but like if you are moving around the environment too noisily, not paying attention or whatever, that's going to spark the aliens stalking AI, and it can climb through any vent or up above or below you, and I think that's really interesting.
That's a good point you make, is the fact that there may only be one enemy throughout the entire game. Mm-hmm. And you got to think of how diverse like the actions that character takes, because
the alien or the
alien.
Yeah.
I mean, the alien is the only source of conflict in the whole game, other than maybe some guy over the radio screwing you over and saying, nope, we're not going to come and rescue you. I mean, other than that, the alien may be the only antagonist in the whole game. And yeah, I remember somewhere in one of the interviews, they said that they couldn't even predict really what the alien was going to do, because they had so many, like you said, the stalker mode for it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they just have a whole bunch of different procedures that it can take. And those all must depend on what you do as a character. So like you said, if you're noisy, or if you sit in one spot and hide for too long, maybe it'll do something else then. Maybe it'll start furiously going from room to room looking for you because it knows that you're there, and that's going to force you to get on the move and start moving. Is because this alien knows you're somewhere in the ship and it wants to find you. And so you just got to take one step ahead of it. Maybe there'll be traps too. I could see that being an important thing.
Yeah, navigating the environment, because one of the big points that they talked about was that this is an environment that was previously lived in. You have work areas, you have production areas, you have R&R areas. So the fact that you're in an environment that feels previously lived in is even more terrifying, because it's harder to see the alien in an environment like that. You have distractions like moving objects. It was the funniest thing. One of the desks like that the character walked by had one of those like birds that dips its beak into the water over and over again.
Right.
And like when I first saw that, I was like, no. If we're at about half time there, let's transition into the second part of this. As those of you who may know, or those of you who may follow video game news, this is the second Alien game to come out in recent memory.
In the last year,
yeah,
there was Aliens versus Predator. Oh, when was that? Like 2009, maybe 2008 or something, which wasn't too bad of a game.
But the most infamous title, which we mentioned much earlier, was Aliens Colonial Marines, developed by Gearbox, behind Borderlands and everything like that. They previously released a trailer that they said served as a vertical slice of all the gameplay that you're going to experience, all the scenarios you're going to experience, and it looked like a really impressive, really well-developed piece of material. The final game, however, was a bug-ridden mess that looked shoddy, played shoddy, was boring, and completely an abomination.
And none of the gameplay footage that they showed before was accurate. Was actually in the game. So
was
they
not
did
accurate.
Kind of missell their product,
their pre-orders,
and did they get a bunch of flack for supposedly outsourcing a lot of the work to another developer studio?
Yeah, and holding them responsible for a lot of the lawsuits or whatever that came through because of it.
It was just a big mess.
So with that said, we wanted to talk about games that follow in the footsteps of previous developers, for better or for worse. There are plenty of games that start out great and end up worse, and occasionally you get that little golden angel that starts out terrible possibly and then rejuvenates itself with a new developer, a new studio.
I always think of Assassin's Creed whenever I think of that. I always think of how the first one was kind of like, it was all right and stuff, and then the second one just improved on like every aspect, and then after that it became a yearly franchise, and it
lost me at 3.
It kind of logged down. Well, it lost me after Brotherhood, which came after 2. So I only got 3 in, and then just lost interest.
You remember the developer of Assassin's Creed 1 was that woman, I forget her name, but like they put her in all the promo materials, and I believe she was on 2 as well. She was like their big face for that game when it was coming out. I don't know if it's just because she
She might have been a community manager
yeah.
or just like lead project, someone that they figured was a good face and a voice to describe the game.
Yeah, I think because of their yearly installments, that's where the content Revelations came out 1 year exactly before 3, right? So
so Assassin's Creed 2 came out. Ooh, I want to say it was 2 years after Assassin's Creed 1.
Yeah.
And then after Assassin's Creed 2, it became a yearly thing. So once Assassin's Creed 2 came out, and it was a huge... Because Assassin's Creed 1 was actually a moderate success. Even though it wasn't that great of a game, it actually sold a lot of copies. I think just because it was one of the most interesting looking games of that generation.
Absolutely.
And they just marketed it really well. And I mean...
It's Ubi.
I mean, it's a what is it? Middle Ages assassin game. I mean, come on, it's like the first of its kind that looked really good.
And they managed to hide the whole future aspect of it with Desmond, which created a lot of marketing. Even though it turned out to be a terrible story, it created a lot of like, you should play this game to like see like what crazy stuff that they're trying to do with it or whatever. But let's talk about like what's the difference between a developer that rejuvenates a series and one that like kills a series. Like Assassin's Creed is, admittedly, it's doing better with Black Flag, but I didn't enjoy Black Flag, and something like that. Also, of merit is Rocksteady is working on is rumored to be working on the next Batman Arkham game, a Silver Age prequel, based off of like the blue and gray Batman, Bam Zip Pow,
the
1960s,
like the
70s, 50s, 60s, early 70s, and like, what do you think was wrong about the development process of a game like Arkham Origins or Assassin's Creed 3 or any one that dropped in quality?
I think the big problem is that they'll drop in quality, one, not just because of the developer, but more importantly because of just how much time they give them to work on the game. So when they turn it into a yearly sequel, basically they're just riding the wave of the game's popularity. They say, look, this game is really popular and there's a lot of people who are really into it right now, so let's crank out as many as we can and sell as many as we can. And that Ubisoft actually went out and said this. One of their higher ups said that this is our strategy: is we get a game franchise and we get it really popular, and then we crank out a yearly sequel, and then we keep doing that until it finally starts to kind of fade away, until the numbers actually start to go down. Hasn't happened to Assassin's Creed yet. I mean, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is arguably, by a lot of people, possibly the best one yet. I mean, it's so good that Ubisoft even sent out a poll to a lot of people asking them if they would want a dedicated pirates series. Like the pirate aspect is so good that
give it 2 or 3 years, they'll become
I would
garbage.
not be surprised. And then you just send out another Pirates of the Caribbean with that, and boom, you got a moneymaker, cash cow right there. But anyways, they keep doing that, and then once it drops off, they kind of take the series away for a couple years, and then they bring it back. And the reason for that is that within 5 years, games can change a lot. Like, you think back 5 years from now, or 5 years back was like 2008. I'm just gonna say it's 2013, just because for the sake of we're only 10 days into 2014. But you go back to 2008, what came out back then?
Future.
Left 4 Dead 1, Gears of War 2, like Call of Duty World at War. Like, a lot has changed since those games came out, and so there's just a lot more room for improvement in between sequels if you give 5 years.
That's a brilliant example that you made. Call of Duty World at War was actually developed by Treyarch, and now look at who's the best Call of Duty studio.
I think it's really
Treyarch.
Yeah, I think it's really funny how Infinity Ward's games slowly got worse, and Treyarch slowly got better.
They lost Zampella and West. And without the large portion of people that they took with them, who evidently are responsible for the inspiration of the best parts of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, now the fact that Treyarch is like, look, we can make a bigger dent than Infinity Ward if we just go a little out of our comfort zone, a lot out of our comfort zone with Black Ops 2, and make something that looks interesting and that plays a little different than, Ghost. God, Ghost was such a nightmare for me. Not a nightmare, just a slog.
Yeah.
I
It's actually Treyarch though, or no, not Treyarch. Sledgehammer Games, which is another studio that I think they just kind of do. They're kind of like the
beat. They're
the mule, the pack mule of sorts. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which
for a
ones
fact,
did
but
they develop?
They came on.
They
to
are
the series,
Ghosts, right?
No, they came on to the series. I think sometime around Black Ops or Modern Warfare 3, somewhere around there.
I think it was Modern Warfare
Sledgehammers
3
came into
because
the scene. And I think they might have taken like multiplayer or did certain part. Basically, it was just another studio to handle the workload of the enormous franchise known as Call of Duty Ghosts. But Sledgehammer Games was headed by, I don't know if they are still, but they were headed by the guy who was in charge of the Dead Space series. But he was only in charge of Dead Space for 1 and 2, which were both incredible games. And then Dead Space 3 was just kind of like, we're going to add co-op. And then everything else, else is gonna suck. Microtransactions didn't bother me though, because I still got a full game experience without the microtransactions. The microtransactions were just shortcuts. You didn't need shortcuts if you played the game for at least like 10 hours. And if you're not gonna play the game for 10 hours, then why are you gonna pay $60 for it?
It always seems like it comes back to a difference between a developer who knows that they're pulling from artistic inspiration and a developer who knows that they just have to put this out because it's on the queue to make a buck and everyone gets home and gets a paycheck. Arkham Origins was definitely a step down from City, not for any lack of production, even though certain aspects of the game felt a little grayer and dimmer than City, which had tons of detail, but a lack of inspiration in the story. It's why is Batman becoming this? The story of him becoming more of a cautious sort of crime fighter is
because Origins is the start. It goes before Asylum and City.
But just you don't have half the inspiration you do of stopping the Joker or seeing all these characters in a really well acted light. Because they skimped on, they didn't get Kevin Conroy, they didn't get Nolan North to do the Penguin again. The British people, did you play Arkham Origins yet?
No, I did not. I beat Asylum, played a bit of City, haven't even touched Origins.
In Origins, man, you can tell that they lent out this voice talent to some back alley developer, simply because all the British speakers in that game spoke like this, Gabna. Hey, I'll punch you in the belly, yeah?
They just beat you over the head with the British accent,
with
basically.
The slang, and it's terrible. And yeah, so it always comes back to that aspect of artistic integrity, artistic inspiration versus what do we want to do to make a buck. And hopefully Aliens Isolation lives up to the artistic integrity of Ridley Scott's film.
Hopefully. I just feel like the earlier in the series, I feel like the first two in a series are always where you're going to find where the series really hits its pinnacle.
The rough ideas.
Because then after that, it's just kind of they're kind of like big expansion packs, but they release them as new titles and they don't feel like full-fledged things. Or you could always just skip the title every other year, take Assassin's Creed, be like, I'm going to buy Assassin's Creed 2.
When has that ever been a problem? Yeah, every time the studio's we're going to take 2, maybe 3 years to come out with the next one, it always ends up being a much better title than a yearly, but money's got to be made. All right, folks.
Money.
I guess that's been it. This has been our first episode back this season.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. And you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. Lucas, cue up some music for us.
And you can find us on YouTube.
You can find us everywhere at the website /buttonmashbsu. So youtube.com/buttonmashbsu, Twitter, Facebook /buttonmashbsu. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you like about the show. Ask us questions. We will answer them. And yeah, we're going to bring you some great news and some great reviews. Check out our YouTube channel and our Facebook for a couple of reviews coming up here. I believe we're going to be doing Papers, Please and Gone Home, the new indie game. And can't wait to bring you our sweet velvety voices again.
And reviews and games and it all wrapped in velvet, apparently.
Merry Christmas. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. It's January.
It's January 10th. Come on. Oh, well. Well, by the time people listen to this, it won't be January 10th.
Yeah, well. It should air January 10th. But hey, have a good night, everybody. This has been Button Mash on WCRD 91.3 FM, the pulse of Ball State.
Take it easy.